Okay, so I know, Alex, we're real estate photographers, not virtual tour creators. I get it. Look, I definitely get it. For the longest time, I never made a virtual tour. For the first 5 years of my business, I did not create a virtual tour. And I was pretty apprehensive about it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get into that because I'm a photographer and a videographer. You know, that's what I wanted to do. And even though that is still what I want to do, and virtual tours is not something that I necessarily love, it definitely brings in a lot of revenue that I didn't have and wouldn't have gotten. So in this video, we're going to be talking about virtual tours, and I'm going to be going over 4 main points with you guys. Number 1 is going to be, what are the different kinds of virtual tours that you can offer? Number 2 is going to be, what camera do you need to do it? Number 3 is going to be, how much do I personally charge for my virtual tours? And number 4, do I think you should do it or not? Okay, so point number 1, what are the different kinds of virtual tours that you can do as a real estate photographer? And there are many other kinds of virtual tours out there. You will see them as you are kind of creeping into this business a little bit and you're trying to figure out, what the right thing to do is, and you will realize that there is a whole world out here that is a little bit confusing, a little hard to navigate through. However, the 2 main ones that you need to focus on and worry about are Matterport Tours and Zillow 3D Tours. So those tours are very, very different, even though the idea is the same. And I want to go ahead and break those down for you just a little bit. So let's go ahead and start with the Matterport Tour. A Matterport Tour actually costs you money. So there are a few different packages on there. The very first one is free. However, it's very limited, of course. I believe you get 1 active space on there, and you can't really do a whole lot with it. You can't share that link to other people. There's a lot of different things that hold you back from it. So really, the first main level that you would want to go with is I believe it's the $9.99 package, and it allows you a few different active spaces, and you can really dive into Matterport and learn what it's all about. So with Matterport, one of the biggest differences is that you have to actually create a dollhouse, is what it's called. And by doing that, you have to do very close proximity points all throughout the house. So every single 360-degree photo has to line up with the next photo and the next photo and the next photo, all the way up the stairs, down the stairs, etc. So it's a lot of shots. For a typical 2,500 square foot house, I will take about 80 to 100 different photos right within the Matterport app. And also to note that as you continue to do this and you keep putting more and more active spaces within your Matterport account, they add up pretty quickly, and you will extend past your account limit. So I believe the starter package is 5 active spaces. The next one up is 25 active spaces. The next one up is 100, I think, something like that. And it gets considerably more expensive. So it goes from $9.99 to, I believe, $69.99, and then I think it's like $300 beyond that. I personally use the $69 one, and I am constantly going in there and checking to see if the listings that I have in there have sold or not. So if they've sold, I go ahead and archive the space, and that frees up a space for me. So I typically have like 15 to 20 active spaces in there, which is a lot, and I'm always kind of teetering up towards that limit, and I certainly try not to hit that limit of 25 because then I'll have to go up to that $300 a month, which I definitely don't want to do. So just something to note, Matterport is not free, it's actually pretty expensive. What Matterport is really good for, though, is you can get a floor plan off of it, you can do a dollhouse view off of it, you can do small little videos of the walkthrough from it. There's a lot of nice little features that they have in there, and it also gives you a pretty good idea of the size of the home. It's not 100% accurate, but based on the floor plan, you can see the overall square footage and square footage of each room. So it's really nice to have, and it's also an upsell to be able to give your clients a floor plan. You can charge anywhere from like 50 to 150 bucks depending on your market. So it's a nice little add-on for you. All right, let's go ahead and jump into Zillow 3D Tours. So Zillow 3D Tours are my personal favorite of the 2. They are completely free. completely free. So you download the app. It is the Zillow 3D Home app. And as soon as you go into a home, you just open the app and you connect to the camera and you choose your address right there. And you can go ahead and start creating your tour. So what's really nice about the Zillow tours versus the Matterport tours is they don't have to be so close together for each photo. A Matterport tour takes me 50 minutes kind of at the minimum, up to like an hour and a half plus, depending on the size of the home. And a Zillow tour takes me like 10 to 20 minutes, depending on the size of the home. So they're considerably faster, they're considerably easier to do. You really only need to take like 1, maybe 2 images per room, whereas the Matterport tour, you have to make sure you're getting, you know, every 3 or 4 feet almost throughout the entire house. So it's considerably easier to do the Zillow tour. So beyond that, you know, it is free, it is much easier to do, and there's another big point to it that you get a lot more exposure on Zillow and Trulia. Zillow owns Trulia, so a Zillow 3D tour is available on Zillow and Trulia, and you get twice as much exposure. That's from Zillow. That's what they say. You get twice as much exposure for your listing with a Zillow tour. So it's a very simple walk-through tour. You know, you click on the arrows just like you would in a Matterport tour. It brings you from room to room, and it's really honestly a fantastic tool. I suggest that to my realtors over the Matterport tour. Even though I charge more for the Matterport tour, it's just like a time versus money thing where I want to be fast and efficient and in and out of a house in less than 2 hours if I can, including photos. So for me, it's pretty important that I keep that pace pretty quick so I can put a lot of photo shoots in my day and make more money. So of course, if somebody wants a Matterport tour, I'm not going to be like, no, you're not allowed. But I just steer people a little bit more towards the Zillow tour. All right, so point number 2 is going to be, what camera do you need to use? And this is a pretty important thing to note, because not every 360 camera is capable of doing the Zillow tour and the Matterport tour. So this is a Ricoh Theta V. There's also a Ricoh Theta Z1. This camera in particular runs you about $400, where the Z1 runs you about $1,000. And what's really nice about this camera is it is capable of doing both the Zillow tour and the Matterport tour. And the reason that I don't have the actual Matterport camera, they have a Matterport Pro 2 camera is what it is called, and that is a fantastic camera, and it gets very detailed photos and is extremely accurate with measuring spaces. However, it can't do Zillow tours. So I wanted to get something that was capable of doing both the Zillow tour and the Matterport tour, and it's so much less. I believe a Matterport Pro 2 is about $3,200, $3,500, somewhere in there, whereas this is $400. So as you can tell, it's a pretty large, substantial difference. I know a lot of people are probably going to comment on this and be thinking that the Z1 is much better than the V and that it's so much better quality. I can tell you that it is better quality. There are things about it that are better. It has a little display on it, whereas this one does not. But overall, this is actually a really high quality camera. I have never had a client complain once about the quality of any of the photos from it. It is honestly pretty astoundingly good. I've even put this thing through its paces in like really dark homes, put it in garages that don't hardly have any light in them, and it really performs really well. Now, of course, it's not perfectly crisp and perfectly clear, but you really don't need that for the Zillow tours or the Matterport tours. For me, I feel like the quality for the price is right on par of what it should be. The $1,000 one is definitely going to be better, but is it worth it? In my opinion, not really. Maybe you can find it used in your market for, I don't know, $700, $800, something like that, in which case maybe I'd consider it. But brand new, I would go with the Theta V. So a quick thing to note before I jump into the next step is that the Theta cameras, they're the only cameras that you can use with Zillow 3D Tours right now. And And when you use a camera that is not the Matterport camera with a Matterport Tour, you are not able to have a couple of the different features, and the main one is that you can't produce a floor plan straight out of Matterport. Now, I do produce a floor plan. There is several ways around it. One of the easiest ways is I use a website called mp2fp.com, and you literally send them the link to your Matterport Tour, and they, within 24 hours, have a fully laid out floor plan for you. You can do 2D floor plans, you can do 3D floor plans. I know there's also people on Fiverr that do it. I know there's also other companies that do it, but I've done probably a couple hundred different ones with this company. It's $25 a piece, and it's a really good quality product. So, and they also send you a Photoshop file, which is really, really handy because, you know, there's normally something that you want to change, whether it's renaming a room, changing one little measurement a tiny bit, anything like that, and you can do it so easily with that Photoshop file that they send you. So I definitely suggest them, mp2fp.com. No affiliation with them, I just use them a lot. All right, number 3, and I know this is one that everybody's gonna wanna hear because everybody loves talking about money, and I'm gonna be looking at my phone because I'm going to be pulling up my prices. How much do I charge for the Matterport Tour and the Zillow Tour? Okay, so for my virtual tours, I charge by the home size. Not the exact square footage, but within brackets of square footage. I know there's several different ways to charge for this. I know some people charge a flat rate. I know some people charge directly by the square footage. I have heard that the kind of average for Matterport is anywhere from 7 cents to 10 cents per square foot. I kind of tried to gauge that price, you know, that average, and also my competitors' average when I was coming up with my own prices. And then the Zillow 3D Tour is going to be a little bit less because, like I said, it's a lot easier to do. It doesn't cost me any money monthly, completely free. So of course, it's going to be a little less for my customer. So what I do is up to 2,500 square foot homes. I charge $95 for a Zillow 3D Tour, and I charge $175 for a Matterport Tour. For homes 2,500 to 3,500 square feet, I charge $115 for a Zillow 3D Tour and $225 for a Matterport Tour. For homes 3,500 to 5,000 square feet, I charge $145 and then for the Zillow Tour, and then $275 for the Matterport Tour. Now, above that square footage, I put custom because, you know, I don't want a huge long list on my website just breaking it down, you know, all the way to, I don't know, 20,000 square feet. So I just put custom, and I have a pretty good idea of what I would charge for, you know, like a 7,000 square foot home. And as you can tell, you know, kind of just add a little bit more to the price each time. But this really depends on your market. You know, I am in a market where I have decently priced homes, you know, a couple $1 million, but I'm not like in Southern California where there's going to be $50 million homes. So every market is obviously going to be different. For my market, we have homes that are a couple $1 million, which is pretty much, you know, my average home that I do is anywhere from like 500,000 up to 2.5 million or so. That's kind of like my demographic for my company. Just really read your market and try to figure out what you should be charging. And don't short yourself, and don't short the rest of the photographers market. We don't want people in the market to be like, oh, I'll give a tour for $25, because you're kind of diminishing the quality that other people are doing, because, you know, realtors, they don't understand all of the effort that we put into this. And by you charging such a little amount, it kind of brings the rest of us down, where a realtor will call me and say, well, you know, Joe Blow said that he'll do it for $25. Well, go to Joe Blow then. So that is how much I personally charge for my virtual tours. And that brings us to the very last point of, do I think you should do it? And this is obviously going to be a personal preference for you. For me, I can tell you that it has added, I would guess, somewhere around $35,000 of revenue to my business just this year so far. And I don't mean directly like I have $35,000 of virtual tour sales. I mean, I have $35,000 of, you know, approximately, of photo shoots, which included a virtual tour. And a few of my clients, some of my very biggest ones, require that I do a virtual tour. They want a Zillow tour and a Matterport tour. And if I didn't offer those, if I didn't offer both of those things, they wouldn't use me. They would use a different photographer. Even though they love my videos, they love my photos, it really comes down to, they need somebody that can go in there within a, you know, 4 or 5 hour window and create all of this content for them. So keep that in mind. I think that's a really important point to consider, is that even if you don't want to do it, you know, I don't necessarily want to go bring this thing in there and just tap away on my phone for an hour and a half. But the fact is, it's going to bring me so much more money by doing it and allow me to be able to go and do the things that I want to do. Because like I said, that one client in particular that wants the Zillow, the Matterport photos and video, I love going in there and seeing the homes that they have and doing the photos and doing the video, and I wouldn't have the opportunity to do those if I didn't click away and do these virtual tours with this silly little camera. So my personal opinion is that you should do it, and I think it makes sense for your business to do it. If you want to be a photographer that is capable of really servicing any client in your area, I think it's pretty crucial that you add that to your arsenal of tools. All right, guys, so I have one more bonus tip for you, and that is to bring a battery with you that you can charge up your camera as you're doing a tour. So when I do a Zillow tour and a Matterport tour together in a home, it really wears down the battery. I mean, if I always make sure this thing is 100% charged, and if it's a big home, you know, 3,500 square feet plus, it has a really hard time taking all of those photos. I mean, it's taking hundreds of photos, and a lot of times it will die on me. So what I do is, you can tell that I have this, it's actually on a light stand. So I guess kind of like a tripod, but it's for a light, like a production light. And I use this because it is so thin when you collapse it all the way, and it gives me the ability to plug in something right underneath it while it's still screwed in. So I can sit here and plug this in like that, and then just have this battery right here charging it while I'm using it. Huge, huge, huge thing to know, because you really don't want to be in the middle of a virtual tour and your battery dies and you have no way of finishing the tour, because that would suck. That is going to be it for me on this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. What would you guys like to see on the next video? I'm trying to not do solely photography, but also get some other things in there. Talk about video, talk about virtual tours, etc. So let me know. I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.